All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the broadcast. I want to welcome one and all those of you who are out there in the radio listening land. For the individuals who are on Oracle Broadcasting, the Next News Network, and let's not forget the one and only Rents Radio Network, which is our home network. I want to say welcome to everyone. Welcome to those of you who are in the chat room. And, today we've got a specific topic, but if Brett happens to be listening in, is there a way to play that intro one more time? Because I really want people to hear the words. And so if we could do that real quick, and then I'll do a slight monologue, and we'll start talking about the topic today. Because I really think that the new choice for music that Charlie has made, the words, I don't even know who the group is, but the words are rather interesting. So if you can play that for me, just go ahead and throw it in there, and let's hear that little short intro.
Some nights I call it a draw. Some nights I wish that my lips could build a castle. Some nights I wish they just fall off. But I still wake up, I still see your gospel. Lord, I'm still not sure what I stand for. What do I stand for? What do I stand for? Most nights I don't know anymore.
It's rather interesting when we hear certain words that are presented to us, and the way that they're presented in such a stirring fashion. I hope that I can get the lyrics to the rest of that song and take some time to get to know it. And as usual, ladies and gentlemen, well, as the late usual on some of my Thursday broadcasts, I want to introduce once again Pastor Dowell from the Straitway Ministries, from the Straitway Truth. You can go over to onlinechurch.org, and we'll make sure that people have said that I have failed to clarify his web addresses and things. So we're going to make sure that we can rattle them off here, at least a couple of them, where you guys can get at it. Because as the times grow further into what I call evil, as the world continues to become more and more evil and more decadent, and to the point now where those who they're openly, our leaders are openly calling for the heads of the people who are moral and for the people who want to lead a different lifestyle, who want to love and honor their neighbor and love and honor their neighbor's freedoms. And, we really see this kind of harshness, as we've said many times, is that mind, body, and spirit is the three things you will need to be at your utmost control of. Your flesh, your own physical body, your wants and desires. Mentally, you're going to have to be able to understand and deal with the issues and be able to actually consume the data and make decisions. No more sticking your head in the sand. You have to be mentally prepared. And you have to be able to steadfast with the Spirit. And, to me, that means a specific representation of what I would call Yah. And for those of you else, maybe some other kind of representation. But you're going to need it. I think mine is better than yours, if yours is a different one. But, we'll all see when the mustard clears and what settles out in the end. Because one of the big things that can inhibit you mentally, physically and spiritually, is family. Now, they can be both a blessing, a benefit, and they could also be a burden. And today we want to talk about family, and I want to talk about family because I want to represent more than just knowing the information of the day. I want to talk about solutions, and I couldn't think of anyone better to talk about family with. Pastor Dowell, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you for having me, Eric. Glad to be on again. Shalom, shalom.
Oh, yes. And I want to say that, shalom to Pastor, but also to everyone who's in the chat room that always joins us from Straitway. And, as we talked earlier, I'll tell everybody I talked to Pastor Dowell on the phone earlier, and, he seemed to light up, and he seemed to, the family topic seemed to be one that definitely interested us both. And I'm hoping that today I can be a little more quiet and maybe ask questions here or there. But I was hoping, Pastor could lead us down the journey of family from many different points and facets.
Sure. The one thing that our society is missing more than anything is the structure of what a few weeks ago is morality. And, of course, the source, whoever it is or whatever that authority may be, I just happen to believe that he happens to be the king of the universe, Almighty Yahweh himself, who actually set the standards of morality. This same king of the universe also gave laws to Moses and guidelines and instruction for his people. And one of those things was written in the Ten Commandments, which says, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land, which Yahweh thy Elohim give thee. And without these beginning principles, without these commandments in our lives, working in our lives, then the structure and the decline of society as we see it today is going to continue to keep waxing worse and to continue to keep failing. Because the one thing about it, we were all birthed from mother and father. They were together. They're one. And sure enough, as we go on in this life right here, we are going to be an either father or mother ourselves. The women are going to be mothers, the men are going to be fathers. And this successive generation, this is going to continue to keep repeating over and over and over again. And the Bible teaches us that there's a certain order, a structure and order that we should use in our lives in order to honor the people who are called what the Bible calls a hoary-headed. That's spelled Hoary. That's those who are old age, gray hair, and has age on them. In Leviticus 19:32, it says, thou shalt rise up before the hoary head. How many people are actually taught that in this society, that whenever we see someone of age, that we should honor them by rising up or standing up to our feet when they come into the room in order to honor them? And then it goes on to say, and honor the face of the old man and fear of thy Yah, for I am Yahweh. And if a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, you shall not vex him. So throughout the Torah, we see over and over and over again that it's real big on honor, and it's real big on structure, and especially having that kind of integrity in the home. Mothers, which are the first blind teachers of the children, they are the ones who actually establish these rules, these guidelines, these commandments very early on in life. But I fear, Eric, as we've gone on in society and as we have had more influence from the people in this society who actually live by no standards whatsoever at all. As a matter of fact, we're watching today how people are dishonoring fathers and mothers. And as long as we have this type of disrespect and decline going on in society, then we are not going to actually obey the commandment, which says, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land, which Yahweh the Elohim giveth thee. So it goes back to the beginning of the structure, and our minds have to be set from there, because if we know the principles and teachings of what the Bible says, we can go forward as human beings, we can go forward as families, and not only that, whatever we learn from our parents, the ideal is that we should be able to take our children a little bit further. So whatever we learn from our mother, whatever we learn from our father, every generation, provided they're brought up in the way, should be successfully getting better and better and better. But we find ourselves today in society being challenged by many, many things, and we find ourselves actually getting worse. And the reason why we're getting worse is because the family and the home is literally under attack. It is literally under assault by liberal media. It's literally under assault by society who chooses to define and redefine what we call morality of today.
And with that, we're hearing the music. We're going to talk. I'm going to take that statement there, and we're going to dig a little deeper because I have a point I wanted to make that I've made before. We'll be right back after these messages. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this Thursday broadcast of Wide Awake News, and welcome back everybody from the different listening avenues. And I guess I'm going to ask one kind of or make a poignant statement, hopefully to bring the reality of what he's talking about home in my own way to other people. But I remember, Pastor, in the mid '80s to the late '80s. Okay, now we were loosey-gooseys in the 70s and in the early 80s and the 60s. Don't think that I don't think we were. But there was a phenomenon that started in the mid to late 80s, and it was outsourcing and off-site housing our elderly. You know the craze that has happened, and in the 80s, what do? These things called retirement homes sprung up everywhere, and we were stuffing the old and the elderly and our parents in them places because they were getting in the way of our vacations. They were getting in the way of our party time. They were getting in the way of whatever. So, I mean, to me, I think it's quite apparent the attack on the family is taking place in many directions in society. And that would be just one thing I want to point out before I turn the line back over. Pastor Dowell, welcome back to the program. Please continue in the direction you see fit.
Well, and that's the problem right there, because, you see, as being displaced and being in exile from our homeland, and then actually coming over and learning another culture, another language, and another nationality, and a whole new set of rules and regulations, that seems to have biblical principles, but we're sitting and watching our society fail immensely. Ultimately, how we treat our older people is ultimately how our society is going to run. And you brought up a very good point about them being neglected. You brought up a very good point about them being ostracized by the people because, they pretty much, like you stated before, have gotten in our ways and stuff. And so we pretty much have neglected them when they should be honored. I sit down and I talk with the older people from time to time, and the things that you would learn from them and the things that they could share and pass down if people would just spend time with them. But I think the decline, and I know for sure the decline in our society is based upon what Jesus had talked about, how the people today, if they end up going and they cursing father or mother, some people say it's a blessing in order to do that. Some people say that it's all right in order to do that. But actually what they're doing is they're breaking the commandment of God. And no doubt when you do things like that, there's a law called sowing and reaping. But we ought to honor the older people, even when understanding escapes them. While we're full of understanding and stuff, we should realize that they have gray hair on their head for a reason. And that we could teach our children as well. And then our children would take care of us likewise the same way. We shouldn't be dependent upon the government or the nursing home or the state to actually take care of our families or our older people for us. So we should actually do that job ourselves.
And I think, too, I know that because I'm going to skip over a gap here and I'm going to tie the elderly in with another piece that I believe is being insanely attacked. But we're going to skip over the mother in the middle, being the main teacher, educator, caregiver, and so forth for the child on many different levels. But maybe you could speak to how do you think it affects raising? Because what this is all about is the world is an immature, decadent place where no one has been forced to grow up. Is really the way that I see it. Everybody they're just a bunch of children. Yeah, they're 30, 40, 50 years old, but they're a 50-year-old child. They have childlike mentality. They do childlike things. They are selfish, like very small children. I mean, that's a whole nother tangent. But if we skip over, how effective can we be at producing mature, decent, honest, honorable, forthright adults out of our children if the children see grandma, grandpa, and whatnot once every 3 months and they have to drive halfway across the country to go to some concrete stack 'em and pack 'em building? I mean, isn't the influence of the elderly when they see it as they have nothing to do because they can't do physical labor and anything anymore, but isn't that like a huge resource for the mother of the family to be able to utilize and educate with and things of that nature?
Sure it is. And you're spot on in your thinking and the way you brought that out. Matter of fact, you can't really too much add anything to what you said because it's just the truth. I want to say that the enemy is always working to destroy the relationship. But, you know, he's going to be doing that. He's going to be doing that. That's his job. Children, the problem that we're having today, Eric, is that we have people who are running around with grown bodies, men, women, 40, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. And yet they were raised by children because, as we see in our society, we now have children raising children. And we have a lot of people who are having a very difficult time transforming from being a child and going off into adulthood simply because they bring a lot of the childish, spoiled brat relationships over into adulthood, and they never, ever have the opportunity to grow up. As a matter of fact, they call them golden years. You know, the Bible says that the parents, the children ought not to lay up for the parents, but the parents for the children. And when you have responsible parents who have actually laid up, who have actually provided a home and land and stuff, so way, you know, the children behind them don't have to go out and get it as hard, you would think that there will automatically be an appreciation or an honor there. I'll give you an example here on the land. All our older people here on the land, and they're around us every single day. All their needs are met. And, you know, where they're well taken care of. If some of us can't do, we have ourselves as well as the younger people that also go and do for them. It's the winter months. So we actually go and we get their wood and we stack it on their porch and everything they want, and we attend to their needs, whatever their needs may be. And they have no need of anything. They've lived their life. They lived their life, and now this should be the time where they're actually are enjoying. Now, we don't take labor away from them, because I have a woman here named Mother Stallings who's 84 years old, and you can't stop her from doing anything, and we don't try to stop her. She'll be in the wood line gathering her own woods, her own kindling, and in order to start her fire. She's very independent, and she wants to keep on going as long as she can. We're just there to assist. But I think that if we would get back to a community,
we actually rolled into commercial.
Okay.
All right, I have welcome back. I have a much briefer version of the question, which I'm going to have to reiterate because people are casting stones in the break at me. So I want to nip in the bud what is being casted at me automatically. Pastor Dowell, if you would be so kind to give two spots, a website, your YouTube, any two that you so desire, two contact points that they can make with you and your ministries, because I promised that I would do that in the first segment, and here we are in the last segment, and I haven't done it yet, and I'm getting hit in the head with virtual stones for it.
Okay, sure. Yeah, our website, the main ministry website, is www.straitwaytruth.com. And Straitway is spelled StraightwayTruth.com. As well as if you'd like to view our services live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. and every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. and also Blog Talk Radio /way every Friday night, which we do a live stream. And you can go to www.online-church.org. And, of course, my YouTube page is Pastor Dowell. But www.online-church.org. There you can view live video services and feeds.
All right. Now, as we dive back in, I want to thank you, greatly appreciate it, and then all those of you who have asked you now, record it, rewind it, wait for the upload on Charlie's page to listen to it again if you have to. Also, if you go to Pastor Dowell's page on YouTube, you'll get all of that information provided to you again in multiple videos. So don't fret. Make sure you get in there and get that information. Now, basically, the question was, if we have any chance at all, how important is the family structure moving forward to digging us out of this hole?
Well, this is how important it is. We've gotten away from biblical principles, guidelines, and instructions. You'll hear me say that over and over and over again. We try to remind us how far we've fallen. Remember Israel, what the Bible talks about as a family. They started as a family, but they became a great nation. It was all about tribal affiliation. When they went to war or a raid, there was a brother or uncle or cousin that was there. And we've lost this type of cohesion here in this societal makeup that we call civilization today, because we've simply have assimilated into the society and been influenced more by them rather than actually choosing to follow the Creator. You can't have a true, solid background of family without having the Most High Yahweh in your life. Christ, if you're born again, Christ is the family, and he talks about the family in the body of Christ, which is born of water and of spirit. And the ones who do the will of the Father, these are the ones that will actually be your family. Now, when you got two people that are pulling in two different directions, two opposite directions, it's very hard for these biblical principles or these laws, statutes, and commandments to begin to take place and to work, because in the book of Amos it says, can two walk together unless they agree? And we first have to come and sit down and agree on the principles of the Bible, and that we're going to follow that Bible, and then both parties must submit to those principles in order to have a long-lasting, healthy, strong, vibrant relationship, and to build on that and to continue to keep building it in successive generations that are coming after us.
And I will tell people to really heed the words and really pay attention. And, you know, some people have problems with it, and I'm not really caring. And the reason why I've done a lot of these broadcasts, going to continue to do them, is I'm trying to show you multifaceted me and a multifaceted type of program, so that you understand what is really going on and what really drives my mind. But the big thing that I want to tell people is everybody has heard my programs where I talk about the law, the natural common law. Well, in research and in time, if you do the due diligence and you do the research, okay, now don't listen to me, don't listen to anyone out there. Do this on your own and actually lay down, like either, you know, Pastor Dowell or whoever you listen to, and lay that message or that spiritual guidance that you have down next to the law, and see which one matches up to the law your nation was founded on. The original Constitution that everyone is crying about and whining about. And, you know, we've lost it and we want to get back to it. We want this document. Well, you'll be surprised to realize what that document is based upon. You'll be surprised to see maybe that the things that you say we shouldn't be talking about, or old-fashioned ideas, you will find them to be mirrored in biblical text and principle. The law of nature, as these men saw it, they were atheists, they were theists, and they were faith-based men, and they all agreed that the principles set forth within the book were actual and natural and factual things that take place in the world. And this is something that people who want to be argumentative about a biblical context given to today's environment should really take a moment to understand that quite thoroughly. That the ideas of liberty, the ideas of freedom, okay, a free man standing on the land, all of these things are based in the Constitution. All of these things are direct principles that come from the original Constitution and our original forefathers. And I can tell you right now where they got it from. Okay, they didn't think it up themselves. They had a manual that they called the Good Book that they used to create and understand the natural environment of law around them. Perhaps you could speak to that for a moment for our listeners.
Sure. And again, here it is. This is where the rubber meets the road, Eric. Again, when you look at the assembly and those who follow me as I follow Christ, you come to the community, you're going to have opportunity to come here. You come to the community, you look at our families, of our family structures, and then you look at the world at large, and you see what's going on with them. We have chosen to follow the law of Yahweh, and the proof is in the pudding. Our families are strong. Our children are strong. There's nothing but love. You can sense it and feel it, and our families are not failing. Our children are still virgins. They remain virgins until they get married, and the family structure is just there. Now, when you compare that to the way that society is going, or people who decide to make the choice or decision to live outside of those principles, then there's no need in belly aching when you chose to actually go against what was already considered just like the law of gravity, which is the law that was handed down and passed down by men. And just like you said, people need to educate themselves and go back and find out what the common law, what the Constitution and the principles of it was built upon, because as we see all these principles leaving our society, leaving our public schools, leaving every fabric of our life, and we're watching all the immorality come into place and play what they call freedom and liberty, We're watching families being destroyed. We're watching people on their fourth and fifth and sixth marriage, and the children don't know who to call mama, who to call daddy. They can choose to go that way. But notice that is the payment for that sin. That is the payment for making those decisions and choices. But however, if you choose to follow the Bible like we do, then you can have a strong family, strong family structure, and a life of peace. The proof is just in obedience, who you are obeying, who you decide to follow, and that's the truth. And that's the truth straight way.
Well, I hope that people have really, really, really gotten to hear information today that would be beneficial to them. And, I hope that I can make it out someday and be able to associate and socialize and get to see firsthand for myself. And, for those of you who are indetermined, and this has been kind of a more docile show for me, it's because there are so many pieces that I think need to be in place for the days and the weeks and the years to come. And I think that, I was only providing a very narrow view. I was only dealing with commentaries. It's the reason why I've really broken the broadcast up. I do some commentary, I do some education, and I do some, opening of the doors to your spiritual world, and hopefully that aids and assists you, and you find the way. I think that really, as people want me to bring up again, salt. Okay, people are really, really trying to get on me about this, and I know it's near the end of the broadcast, but if you don't have salt, you're gonna die. That's the end of the story. I don't care how much gold, silver you got. I don't care how much meat you got. I don't care what you got. If you don't have a proper salt intake, you will die, especially if you need to be active and moving around. Bless you. And hopefully what I want to do today in the last few minutes is anything that, anything that you might have think that you want to reiterate, you want to re-impact, something else that may be on your mind, anything you want to say as we close out the program today, Pastor.
Sure. I think the best advice that I could do with anyone or leave with anyone is this, is that if you detect that you have bitterness, ill will, or resentment or malice towards someone, do an honest assessment of your heart. Take a good look inside of it to see if it's so. If it is so, be honest with yourself. And the only way you're going to actually get rid of that is you have to actually repent. You have to follow biblical principles. If you are mad, upset, have malice and ill will, and you still choose to live this life outside of what the Bible says, you choose not to follow the Messiah, Yahshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, then you're going to die that way. You're just going to die and you're going to burn. That's a choice and decision you make. These principles will not work for you. For those of you that do, you can easily remove that pain from your heart. You can also find yourself actually walking in optimum health as you go forward and live a more happy and more prosperous life rather than having a life filled with ill will, hatred, malice, and resentment on a daily basis. I mean, I myself personally realize that life is too short, and there's no way that I want to live my life in misery when I have other options available to me.
Well, I can't think of a better thing to say. I would much rather enjoy life than live with hostility on a day-to-day basis. However, I want to thank Pastor Dowell, and I want to thank, not just Pastor Dowell, but Straitway Ministries for, allowing him the time to be here with us on these days. I think that they're vastly important. If you don't think so, then, you discard it and you do whatever it is that you're going to do. Hopefully you gain something from the other days of broadcast and program, because next Tuesday, trust me, I'm going to bring out a specific website that I've been looking at, and we're going to talk about the Organic Act of 1871 in depth. I'm going to give you a resource. In case everybody doesn't know what the Organic Act of 1871 is, it's called the Constitution of the United States. So we'll be addressing that on Tuesday. I'll see you all then. And once again, thank you to Pastor Dowell.
Thank you for having me. Shalom.
Uh-oh, look at him looking.